Alright, so suppose I told you that I wanted you to print out the numbers, let's say, 1 through 5. So we could do that. We could do that pretty easily. So we print out 1, and then we could print out 2, and then what we could do is we could take this and we could just copy it and we could paste it. And we can come in and swap this out. 3, 4, and then we could print out 5. But the reality is that's not very efficient. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that we have to write 5 lines of code to print out 5 separate numbers. And, that's just the kind of the tip of the iceberg of a slippery slope for this one. What happens if we want to print out 100 numbers? Are we gonna write out 100 different separate statements to print out each number? I mean, we could, but what if there was a way that we could iterate over this code and run it multiple times? And that right there is where the concept of a loop comes in. So for a loop, what we need to do is think of it kind of like an if statement. So instead of typing if, though, for this specific loop, we're going to type while. And we're going to open and close the curly braces just like we would with a regular if statement. And up here, we're gonna make a variable called number. We're gonna set that equal to 0, or we'll set it equal to we'll set it equal to 0. And I want to print out the numbers from 0 to 100. So how will we do that? Well, if this is like an if statement, but the difference is as long as this condition up here is true, so while the number is less than or equal to 100, we want to execute the code here. That is kind of how we set this up. So it comes in here, it says int main number is equal to 0, and while the number is less than or equal to 100, we want to go ahead and execute all the code in between these two curly braces. Now, the issue right now is that, well, we're going through here and doing what we're supposed to do, but we're not yet quite, doing what we need to. And so to do what we need to also increment this number, because right now what happens is it gets stuck in what we call an infinite loop because the state of number is never changing. So inside of the loop, go ahead and let's increment. And so number equals number plus 1. And so we could keep it like that. And what that would do is it would add up to 100. We could go ahead and print out number right like that. So that would print 0 to 100, or maybe 99. Let's go ahead and actually, I'm pretty sure it's 100. Yeah, it's 100. So if we build that, and it's going to take a second. If you look here, and I messed up and didn't add the end L, but if you look at the very end here, you see the last number is 100. So go back in here. Let's throw in that end L really quick. And number equals number plus 1. Okay, cool. We can swap that out with number plus plus, and we're going to go back in here, build. We're going to build and run. And as you'll see here, we get exactly what we wanted. So we print out starting at 0, and we go all the way up to 100. Awesome. So coming back here, let's say we want it to print out to 500. How would you do that? Well, you would just do this, and you change that to 500, right? If you wanted to print out to 1,000. So you see how scalable that is, and really kind of where that can take you. So that is the while loop. Let's go ahead and do a little bit another of an iteration of this. And instead of counting up to a number, let's count down. So let's set our number equal to 1,000. And while number is greater than 0, So this will print down all the way to 1 because it's greater than 0. Let's print out number and end the line. And then let's also decrement that by 1. So this will come in here. It'll say, while number greater than 0, is it greater than 0? Yes, if it is greater than 0, it'll print out what the number happens to be at that time. And then with number minus minus, it'll go ahead and take that number and it will decrease it by 1. So let's go ahead and build and run this. And as you see with our code run here, this is exactly what we get. We are printing out from, we are printing out from 1,000, but we are kind of limited by the amount of lines that the command line can store, so it kind of pushes it off at about 296 for this. But the important thing is we print all the way down from 1 to 1 because we are doing greater than 0. If we want it to do greater than or equal to here and print down to 1, we would of course change that there and also change that to 1. So one little other thing that we may want to do at some point is we may want to enter this while loop. But we may want to ask for user input, so we'll cover that in the next tutorial with the do while loop.